Hey everyone, welcome to Pass the Bubbly with me, Melina Thomas, where we talk about self-development with a biblical perspective. So if that sounds interesting to you, please consider subscribing and let's dive in and take a sip. Today's episode, I'm going to share a little bit about how I experienced pageantry and what my experience was like. As you can tell, I'm not wearing my normal clothes. I have a sash on and I don't know if you can tell, but it says Mrs. East Florida. So for 2024, I am Mrs. East Florida, and I'm going to be competing in May for Mrs. Florida. And I am so excited. So I just wanted to share with you guys what pageantry is and the different types that there is. And I've competed in 2 pageants so far. So kind of share with you guys what that was like. So I got into pageantry a really interesting way. So my neighbor growing up, she was a Mrs. Florida International, and she would always tell me as a kid, Melina, you need to compete in pageants. You would do so well. You need to compete in pageants. You'd do so well. And as a high schooler or a young woman, I was really self-conscious, and I just felt that I wasn't pretty enough, honestly. I felt that I wasn't pretty enough in order to compete in pageants and that I wouldn't do well. And, you sit there and you watch these gorgeous women walking on stage and you compare yourself and you're like, I don't even have a chance. So I always watched pageants and I always liked pageants, but I just thought that it wasn't for me. I wasn't tall enough. I wasn't pretty enough. My body wasn't perfect. And so I put that dream aside. And then I got married. So once I got married, I thought that pageantry was never going to happen for me because I always assumed pageants were for women that were unmarried. I mean, I always saw Miss America, Miss Universe, all those different things, and it was always unmarried girls. Once I got married, I was watching, I think it was Miss Universe, maybe Miss America, and I just remember Googling on my phone out of curiosity, pageants for married women. And there were so many that popped up. And I was shocked. Honestly, I was shocked. And I was like, oh my gosh, wait, I could probably do this. And I was looking at what these pageants stood for, and they were all about family and empowering women in a way that is great for the community. And it resonated with me. And there were so many pageants that didn't expect you to be in a bikini and heels on stage. And for me, that was important. And so I started doing research on different pageants, and I fell in love with the Mrs. America system. And their just mission or motto is, we are family. And I love that. As a married woman now, I have a family, and I want to grow that family very soon. So going into pageantry with a bunch of married women, I was excited. I was really excited. And I thought I was going to do really, really well. So I first competed last year. I was Mrs. Sanford. And I honestly just competed just to see if I would like it. Because, you have to try something out. You got to try something out and see if it's worthwhile, because pageantry is an investment. It can be very expensive, okay? And so I was just like, I'm going to not spend I think my budget was like $300 for the whole pageant, everything. I was going to do my own hair, my own makeup. My mom bought my dress as a birthday gift. I was, I was budget queen that year. And so I show up and I'm the youngest one there. Fine. And these women were so established, so elegant, so phenomenal. I was taken back. I had never been in a room with that many women that just honestly had so much going for them. I've always been a high achiever, so sometimes I'm in spaces where, I am the person, quote unquote, doing the most. But the things these women were doing, I was like, oh, I want to do that one day. Most of them had their own businesses. Most of them had, a social media following of some sort, were great wives, were great mothers. And it was honestly inspiring. And so one thing that pageantry brought out in me was I didn't realize how insecure I was. I didn't realize there's so much women can do as wives. I kind of believe that like once you became a wife, like that was it, and you're just raising a family and whatever. And you always hear of like boss babes and like doing the most and all that stuff. But I really saw so many women that I felt really had it all and had a really good balance of working and traveling and raising their kids. And I was like, wait, like I can do that. Like I can have the career life and the family life that I want if I put in the work. So I competed, and one of the things that I noticed, obviously fairly young, these women were established and they were further along in their careers than I am, so they had, more money. And so there was this moment where everyone was like, hey, let's all take a picture. Put your purses down. Let's take a picture. Everyone put their purses down. Louis, Chanel, like amazing name brands. And there I am with my little Ross purse. And I put my little Ross purse in the pile. And I'm like, ooh. And no one made me feel less than or like I was broke or anything. It was an insecurity that I had put on myself. And I started to compare myself to these other women. Mind you, they are further along their journey, and that's okay. But I was like, man, I should be where they're at. They weren't where they're at when they were my age. Why would I have those unrealistic expectations? And my path and my journey and my bank account is going to look different than everybody else's. And I should be grateful for what I have now. And so that weekend was very hard for me because I felt like I stuck out like a sore thumb because I just felt so cheap. I felt poor, and I wasn't poor, but I just felt poor. I felt like I didn't have, all of this great stuff. I was doing my own hair and makeup every day. I felt like everyone was paying for, a makeup artist and a hairstylist, and had all of these, one of these girls told me her dress cost $1,000. And I was like, ow. And it took a little bit of my joy. And I have nobody to blame but myself. Like nobody said anything to me, but I was internalizing all of it. And so I competed. And for my first pageant, I made top 10. So that's phenomenal in itself. Never competed in a pageant, no coach, no experience, like going in absolutely blind. And I did well. And I realized that I loved it. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with it because it was the first time where it was glamorous, but they didn't care about how glamorous you were or how rich you were or how pretty you looked. They cared about the community impact that you were going to make and the legacy that you were going to create with the crown. And you needed to have a plan, and you needed to have a good heart, and they needed to see that, and they needed to see passion and drive and love, and they needed to see someone that could represent a brand that stood on family values and stood on making a difference and impacting youth around the country. And it was empowering. It was such an empowering experience. So when I made top 10, I was really excited, and then I didn't move forward. So I didn't get to answer a question on stage. And I remember feeling like, okay, is there something wrong with me? Because the interviews I felt went really well, but I was like, is there something about me that is not queenly? And I started to have self-doubt. And then, do I not make enough money? Do I not have enough connections? Am I not old enough? I was the youngest one there. Am I too inexperienced in life to do this? And so I took the next couple of months afterwards to really think about it. And eventually, I made some friends competing, and I would talk to them about a little bit of what we were struggling with. And they were so encouraging and so kind. And I met friends that I feel like are lifelong friends. And they reminded me that in life, you're going to go for certain things, whether that be a promotion for your job, whether that be a part in your school play, or, a team, a position on the varsity team, whatever it may be. And you just might not be the person that they want right now. But everything that you said you wanted to do, if you got there, you do it anyway. So I remember when I competed, I said, oh yeah, if I'm the queen, I would travel to schools and speak, and I want to write a book, and I want to start a podcast and do all these things, da da da. And they're like, great, these are all great things. And then I didn't win. And I was like, I still need to do these things. I still need to write that book, start that podcast. I still need to follow God and accept his calling to go and speak. And so I did. And because of that, my life has changed. And so that's why I want to compete again. And I came back this year as Mrs. East Florida. And I love pageantry. I love the opportunities that you get. I love the focus on family. I love the women that you meet and their aspirations and their ability to encourage and support and network. And I love being a voice. I love being a vessel for God to speak and uplift others. And pageantry is just a platform that I get to use it through. But regardless of whatever happens in May, I am still going to do those things. I am still going to go speak at schools. I am still going to continue to promote my book. Now it's published. It was published in November. It's Past the Bubbly. You can find it on Amazon. And I'm going to continue this podcast. And for me, my platform. So for every pageant you enter, you have to have a platform, which means that you have to have something that you are supportive of, that you're going to promote to the world through your crown. My platform is called Be the First. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to do and what platform I wanted to support, because I do a lot of volunteer work. Like I work a lot with the homeless. I work a lot with youth and different things. And so I was trying to think, what did I want to focus on? And I realized one thing that I knew more than anything else was what it was like to be the first. To be the first to pursue a dream that no one in my family had pursued before. To be the first published author. To be the first published author in my home. To be a business owner. To be the first to compete in pageants. There were so many things that I was the first at, and there are times when it's lonely, when it's scary. To be the first in my friend group to stop drinking. To be the first to dedicate my life to Christ in a way that my friends had never seen before. I'm the first person in my family to be Adventist. And I realized that there is power in being the first. And I want to share that message with youth across the country, across the world. You can be the first. And God is going to bless you. And you can break generational curses. You can live a life that is full of love, regardless of how you were raised, regardless of circumstances. You can stop any drug that you have started. And you can be the first to have that amazing, successful story. Because our life is being written, but we are writing it. So let's write a positive story and be the first. So pageantry has really changed my life. And because of pageantry, I see myself in a more positive way. And it showed some things that I needed to work on that I didn't know were there. And it allowed me to grow And I'm so excited to go back and see some gorgeous women again. And so, whatever that may be for you, it could be pageantry, it could be social media, it could be sports, it could be cooking, anything. Just do it. You don't need to be in a certain place in your life to do XYZ. You're making excuses, you're holding yourself back. Jump in, learn, and get better. Because nobody hits it out of the park every single time the first time. Are there moments? Yes. But that's not the way life works. And it's so much better when you get to work towards something, I think. And regardless of the title, regardless of the crown, do the work and continue to do so, and you will be blessed. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. As always, my socials will be in the description box below. And if you like my content, please consider subscribing so I can continue making this for you guys. I love you guys all so much from the bottom of my heart, and I hope you guys have a blessed week.